Right now.
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 Because it's time to right now.
Welcome to the Right Now community, as we are doing another author sprint stream with the other Authortubers and Booktubers of the community. Today is day 5 of the Authortube marathon. I am absolutely enjoying it. Every single time I hop on, we're doing writing craziness, games, or all the things. And every single time we join some of the other Authortubers, it has been awesome. Today, we're going to be doing we'll do a little bit of writing chat. We'll kind of get into the writing mindset. I know I need to get into the writing mindset. And then we'll be doing a couple writing sprints. So make sure you stick around and you join us, because we're going to be doing not 1, not 2, but 3 writing sprints, 25 minutes apiece. So that way we can actually get some writing done today. All right. Welcome to the community. I'm Kaufman. I'm on a mission to solve all the writing problems of the world by putting a dragon on it. That's me. I'm glad to have you guys here here with the community. And I am with my wonderful co-host today. I'll let you introduce yourself.
I am Lauren Eddles. I am mostly a horror author. I have a collection out called Tiny Shivers. It has 101 flash and drabble and short stories in there. And I have 34 published in anthologies and magazines. I'm currently querying a middle grade horror called Seeds of Doubt, which is based off of my trauma from the Goosebumps episode, Stay Out of the Basement. And I recently had it revise and resubmit, so fingers crossed. And that's
like
me.
what trauma from being a writer that we're now going to turn into storytelling?
Exactly. A substitute teacher showed it to us, and I was not prepared. And for weeks, I was terrified my parents would be replaced by plant people. Like, no.
You're like, what an influence. I remember growing up, I was always watching, or when I watched that scary stuff, at least kids scary, right? I was Goosebumps, Are You Afraid of the Dark? Were like the two that I always vividly remember. Those were great.
I also remember Ghost Rider, but I think it was a Canadian show. It's a bunch of kids who write stories, but like the stories start like coming to life, kind of thing.
That was great. I was like, I don't think I ever saw that one, but that probably would have been great.
Monster that was designed by the designer of the alien xenomorph. Like, it was disturbing, y'all.
Like, who doesn't want a xenomorph in their story? That would definitely scare us. You know, actually, I have a really funny story for you guys with horror. But first, let me welcome everybody into the community. I see a lot of our Authortubers here. Rachel, welcome. Shu, just coming over to nab the link for the stream and hug the like button. Bomb.com.
Screen Hoppers Unite.
We appreciate. Oh, Screen Hoppers Unite. I didn't even know that was Screen Hoppers Unite. Like, stream. Not screen, stream. Yeah. Stream Hoppers Unite. Oh, that's a good hashtag. That's a good hashtag. I like that. And Devin setting this up early. The hub is working on a hobby, and my son don't have private music lessons tonight. Ooh. I grew up with private music lessons. I know exactly how that goes. Awesome. Thanks for joining us, Devin. Cognazo, Hop, Christina, what's up? Everybody's favorite, Sam Wicker in the chat. Everyone, if you're in the chat, say, Sam, thank you. You are awesome for putting this all together, because Sam is incredible. Every single time I hop in one of these Authortube streams this week, Sam is in every single one. That's like almost 15 hours of streaming every single day. So Sam, you're awesome. It's really, really great to have you in the community. Dawn, welcome. I just saw you and Rachel in your stream. It was awesome. Jody, long time no chat. Inca, welcome. Jenny. I was like, Jenny. I was hoping I spelled that right with the I. I'm like, that actually spelling is really cool. I don't think I've ever met a Jenny with an I. That's a great spelling. And Calvin, welcome. You're like, Devin, not writing today, but working other authory things. And you see, that is totally all right. So whether you are writing, brainstorming, or editing, that's all part of the process. Even if you're like developing or planning for like the author branding stuff, that all still has to happen to build up your readership. So very, very cool. I love the shirt, Kaufman. I have the same one. Tea Turtle is the best. I know. I was like, I love all the Tea Turtle stuff. One of these days I'll be able to get like my own branded stuff and then do that accordingly. But you know what? Tea Turtle's awesome until we have some other cool artists. Kanazo was also like Tales of the Crypt Keeper was awesome. And Jenna, glad to see you in here. Excellent. I see a lot of writers in here, which is awesome. So Laura, as someone who is like with like the master with horror over here, especially with your special effects background, it feels apt that where I'm kind of on like a horror mindset and vibe right now. When I was growing up, I always remember watching horror movies with my sister. And one of the first horror movies that we ever watched together was The Ring. Now, I didn't know anything about horror movies at all, so this was my introduction to horror. We watched it. I was really young, and we watched it in the middle of a thunderstorm, and we had power outages throughout the entire area. And for anyone who knows The Ring, it's about a scary demon creature that comes out of the TV, and like all electronics like flash. So there was definitely a time where we were watching it, and she's literally coming out of the TV, like about to like do something evil to the people, and then the power shuts off, and I just freak out. I'm like freak out, and I'm like young, and I don't know any better, and I'm just scared that entire night. And then like it comes back on, and she's closer because the just the way that the movie goes. Yeah. And I legitimately did not sleep for like 2 days after that, and I like covered the TV. I covered every single like electronic in my place for a good 2 days. Nice. And then I went into a lifetime of watching horror, scary, and thriller movies. So clearly, I was a glutton for punishment.
My dad watched Texas Chainsaw Massacre with his friends back in like high school, and the friends whose house it was, their dad went outside the window and revved a chainsaw during the movie.
Like, oh god, that's scary. That is scary. I was like, I do not want a chainsaw near me when I'm watching the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. That is not a fun way to die for sure. But so speaking of happier things, hopefully happier things, how did you get motivated with writing? Because I know, like, obviously you have a background in horror and thriller, and I posed the same question to the chat. I would love to hear how did you start writing? Was it, were you inspired by something? Did you just pick up a pen one day and you're like, I'm called to the stories in my heart? Or maybe you just woke up and you saw a character come to life and you're like, hey, that character is telling me I have to write their story. Yeah, so many options. Laura, how did writing call to you?
So growing up, I was a avid, voracious reader. Like it was my escape. And I was also into art. And so I thought I was going to grow up to be an illustrator for books. Because my friend and my sister were both better authors, like better writers than me. So I was like, well, I'll just go the illustration route. And then come college, I just do animations. I don't do actual like illustrations. But I start doing some fanfics in college. Like I read so many in high school, fanfiction.net. But I didn't have a smartphone, so I would print them out and staple them and take them to babysitting gigs and like read my Full Metal Alchemist fanfic after the kids were asleep. Yes.
Oh man, that's absolutely hilarious.
After college, like I shut down my creativity was just kaput. So I could not write to save my life after a few years. And so there was a dry spell where I didn't write anything, not even fanfic, until I heard about bullet journaling. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Let me look up some YouTube videos on bullet journaling. And I found someone called Rachel Stevens, and she was setting up one for NaNoWriMo. And I'm like, what the heck is NaNoWriMo? So I heard about NaNoWriMo, and I was like, I can do that. So I came up with my story idea, my creativity finally unlocked, and I had my idea for about 2 months before Nano started, and I was like, I can't start yet. It's not Nano. So like I was like revving the engine, getting ready, and then Nano hit, and I won. I won my first go, and it was awesome.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
So then you were just motivated for the rest of your life. You're like, all right, every day now.
So, well, I would only write during Nano and Camp Nano months.
Mm-hmm.
So I had months in between where I would just refill the well.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I did. And then I read The Anatomy of Prose by Sasha Black, and it introduced me to something called flash fiction. And I was like, I can do that. So the first flash I wrote was a cosmic horror Lovecraftian one. And I was like, I can do horror? Because the book I had written was YA sci-fi.
Okay.
And so I was like, I like this. Like, I can kill people off really fast in these flashes and short stories. And so I was hooked. And then I started writing more consistently throughout the year so I could keep submitting to anthologies and stuff. So
I like that with horror. What motivated you to change? You're like, I could kill the people off now. In sci-fi, like maybe they die, but I have to explain it through science and technology. Now they can just die gruesomely and people like it.
The monster did it.
It's all the monster, because monsters only exist in horror and thriller stuff.
Yeah.
That is absolutely awesome. I know for myself, I feel like I've generally been writing my entire life. I was an avid reader like yourself. I think my early books was Lord of the Rings. I did fantasy Lord of the Rings, Ender's Game for science fiction, and then classics Lord of the Flies. So those were kind of like my early inspirations. I loved these expansive worlds, and then my parents bought me it was a create your own story set, and essentially they were like, essentially you could write however many pages you wanted. It was like a large box to put a picture and then like 5 lines for writing.
Yeah.
Well, it's like younger. So I embarked on this like mission because my dad always came home and brought these Beanie Babies, but they were the Mario themed ones because that was the one that was just like what was on at 7-Eleven at the time. So we were really into Mario. So I thought, I was like, okay, I will retell the entire Mario franchise. I was like, I felt pretty confident I could redo the entire story. So I ended up embarking on a 20-part book series.
Very nice.
And then essentially you basically like you wrote a book, or you did the pages, you sent it to the company, and then they put it in a book cover for you with the picture, and then send it back to you. So you got like this published feel. And then ever since then, I've just been writing. I was that weirdo in the back of the class who, like, if anybody has been a writer, I was like always the one in the back of the class writing, and the teacher would call on me and they'd be like, he's not paying attention. And then I would answer it because I can multitask.
I was the one who was drawing on their pages.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah,
you were sitting in the back of the class too, weren't you?
No, actually, front row.
Dang, you're the smarter one. You're like, they'll never suspect me if I'm in the front row.
Also, my eyesight was bad, so it was like...
Okay.
But yeah, so I also grew up on Captain Underpants, and so I was inspired to draw comics. So we would do like the Fliporama comics. So that was very fun.
So cool. I know here in the chat we have some great stories. So I was like, if I can find them. Let's see. Ryder Sam was like, born and raised in the mountains with all the wells everywhere, and watching The Ring I kept my distance from wells for a long time. Oh yeah, I feel your pain on that for my story. Jana was failure.
Like, I've only seen the Japanese The Ring. I still haven't watched the American version.
It'll probably be like nothing compared to the Japanese version. We all know Japanese horror is better.
Yeah, I have yeah, I have Ju-on. I have Dark Water. Yeah.
Ju-on was super creepy. Let's see. Jenna was like, been writing fan fiction, TTRPG related things since teenage years. Worked freelance and Shred Publishing as an editor part-time while teaching high school English full-time. Then 2020 happened. You know what? Then the world blows up and we find a new calling. Let's see. Lynn was like, I've always been writing since I was a kid. I got inspired to write novels because I was frustrated with career. So I decided to write a novel. Then I realized people were willing to pay for my silly books. It's that crazy realization, right? You're like, people will pay money to read my writing. It's a really crazy thing. It's really, really crazy. Let's see. Has that happened for you at all, Laura? Where like people actually like pay money to read your storytelling at all?
Well, like I get paid for a lot of my stories that are in anthologies and stuff. Which not much, but it's a paycheck. Sometimes it's literally $1. But I'll take it. So.
You're like, this, I am a paid author. I will achieve revenue regardless. Let's see. Cognazo was like big reader and artist. Then in high school, my best friend introduced me to her dad and his friends who were all authors, and they dragged me. Oh yeah, like, sounds like you were dragged into writing, and clearly you've been writing ever since. So that sounds like a win. Inca, I grew up without queer stories, so I started writing them for myself. That's awesome, right? And I know a lot of authors out there, right? I want to tell the stories that I feel like I don't see, and they're authentic to my own experience. It sounds like CB is right here with you, Laura. I started writing fanfic when I was 21, so we got another fan fiction fan. Lauren is like, been writing since college, always loved reading, but never saw myself as an author till a creative writing class just needed it to push out of me.
See,
Rachel's...
that's something I've never had a creative writing class. I would love to take one.
Oh, really?
The only writing class I've ever taken besides like the standard English classes in high school was a writing about humanities class in college where you had to write like a book review and like a research paper on something about a movie or a TV show. So
interesting.
Yeah. So like I studied the Hayao Miyazaki movie Spirited Away and wrote about the folklore, the yokai and the creatures that were in the movie and how some of them were changed for a more Western audience.
That'd be great to write about. I would love that.
It was really fun. But like I've never had a creative writing class.
I am the exact opposite because I went off to college knowing that I wanted to be a writer. So I pursued a creative writing degree. I was like one of like the 5% who knew exactly what I wanted to do. It took me another 15 to 20 years to figure out how to do that. But you know what? All part of the process, right? Let's see. So it sounds like we definitely have a lot of great writing stories here, a lot of great friends here in the community. I feel like it's actually really, really inspirational. I always get inspired by other people's like writing based stories. And then it just makes me think of how far we've come. When you look back on all that you've written so far, Laura, does that ever feel surreal to you?
So I have printouts of my first book that I wrote.
Ooh.
I have 2 drafts printed out up there. I have 3 actually for that book. And then I have my first draft of Crimson Strings up there. And I have like all these, I just have copies of my drafts up there. And it's like, oh, if you go back and read, it's like, oh no. Dang. But I get that.
That's cool that you have that though. That must feel like such an accomplishment.
Yeah. But also like when I hit submit on sending a piece to an anthology or whatever, it's like I feel confident like that I've edited, and then my ADHD is like, okay, we're done with this. And so I'm like, okay. So I hit submit. And then my brain is like, you didn't edit it enough. Like, there's got to be something wrong. You
got to fix it. Too late.
And then it comes out in the anthology or the magazine, and I start reading it, and I'm just like trying to read it. And then I finally get to the end, I'm like, okay, it wasn't that bad.
Yep. I've totally been there. After you've written something, submitted it, and then wished you had more time to go fix any of the problems. You're like, oh, in your writing brain, it just gets to you.
Yep.
But eventually, as writers, we have to let it go. We hit a point where we have to let it go, or we can just keep revising it forever. And I'm sure that we could go back to our stories and literally revise them forever.
Yeah.
Man, I was like, actually, I have a good question. So speaking of, it sounds like you predominantly do anthologies. Why is that? Why the shorter form writing? I'm always curious.
My ADHD likes typing the end and hitting submit. I need that dopamine hit.
Are the anthologies usually like flash fictions, or are they short stories, or
it's a mix?
Okay.
I think most of my publications in anthologies are actually drabbles, so 100-word stories. And one thing I like about writing short form is you can be more experimental.
Okay. And
so you can write from a perspective that is unexpected. You can mess with, make it a little bit more purpley for a small section if you want. You can
purpley?
Purpley.
Oh, wait, what does purpley mean?
Purple prose.
Purple prose. What is purple prose? I don't know what that means.
Overly flowery and convoluted.
Okay. That makes sense.
So like you can mess with like getting close to the line of purple for short pieces. You can also experiment with form. And so like there's this one piece that I really want to write as a short story, which is in the form of a research paper, like an academic paper, but it's somebody who has found basically the Necronomicon and is trying to document it.
That's actually really cool.
So it would be like, okay, found this thing happens, and then you have like notes in the margins. And then as you turn the page, what I want to do is draw the tentacles coming through the paper, like the text warps. I really want to do that one. So
I love that. That sounds like a lot of fun, actually.
Yeah. So like that is not really feasible for a full-length novel, but for a short story flash piece, yeah.
That's something you can actually do. So that almost feels like that's something that goes for like a short story, almost experimental, and then you get to try something new.
Yeah.
You know what's interesting, and I always get this with writers because I'm also an editor. I do editing and coaching as well. I work with and I see so many different styles of authors, and some of them are just like more generalized, working towards more of like the popular, like I'm going to go write like a romance novel or a fantasy novel or sci-fi. But then some are very like indie or very niche, and they really care about like, I want to do experimental stuff. I want my prose to be very like, I want to have very specific prose. I want to do a unique trend. It wouldn't work towards mainstream. Yeah. But they know that, and they want to go towards this like more like what would probably be like literary fiction. And it's always interesting kind of contrasting different balances, because there's no right or wrong. There's no like right or wrong approach to writing, which is one of the reasons I love it. Yeah.
Very true.
I think it's really cool what you're doing. I always ask myself when I meet other writers who are trying new things, I'm like, am I trying new things with my book? And I'm like, no way. Okay, my goal with my book isn't to tell something complicated prose or experimental. My story is designed to be easy to read with a very advanced, very action adventure-y Lord of the Rings type story. And I was like, I know exactly what I'm trying to do, but I'm like, I'm not trying to go very extremely poetic language, because I don't feel like that's the readership that I'm trying to target for that story anyways. Yeah. It's always interesting. You know what? And this question's actually been on my mind today though. Like, speaking of flash fiction and short stories, I'm actually really curious from the community, what types of stories do you like to write? What types of stories do you prefer? So I just dropped a poll in the chat because I was actually really curious. Laura, if you were to take a guess, do you think people prefer working on novels more short stories, flash fiction, or I think that's just the 4. Flash fiction, short stories, novellas, or novels.
I'm
What do you think is gonna be the
guessing
most popular?
most authors in this community like
Mhm.
doing epic series.
Epics.
And-
You know, I get that a
Yeah.
lot from the Authortubers. I'm like,
Mhm.
I get a lot of writers who want long series. And I mean, I get it. I'm working on a series. Like, I understand it. But with series, and I mean, I guess technically you can make novellas. Novellas can be series as well. So you could have a series through novellas or novels. Do short stories ever, do we ever make short stories a series?
So there
Or is that
are collections in theme. So
Mhm.
like a
Which that would make sense for like an anthology, right? So like usually like anthologies
So-
would be collections.
a collection is an anthology but by one author.
That makes sense.
You would have each short story stand on its own, but
Mhm.
together tell a bigger story is what you can do.
Each
I
short
believe
story
Kieran
stands on its
Westwood
own.
did one of those. But
Each
yeah.
short story stands on its own, but overall they tell a bigger story.
Yeah.
So what would that look like? So then if each short story like is like one that follows one character, and then overall all the characters are all fighting some major antagonist, and if you've read all of them, you're like, oh, I pieced the elements and this is the larger.
That would be more like Uzumaki by Junji Ito, which is
I think that's something that I would probably write in that style. I think if I was to do something, I would do something where it was broken up by plot elements per story.
so
That'd be fun. I want to do that now.
in
That sounds cool.
Uzumaki, it's a bunch of little like vignette episodic things that happen.
Mhm.
But then as you noticed in the episodic stuff, things are escalating. And then the last couple of chapters actually flow together and all the episodes like start happening at once again and it escalates. So you have one chapter that's like someone gets turned into a snail, and you have one chapter where there are whirlwinds that start happening. And then by the end, there's whirlwinds and snails and like everything happening at once. And you're like, oh my gosh.
That sounds like a lot of fun. Wait, so which author do you recommend we check out? Yep, we have it on the bookshelf. Yes. Yes.
So that one.
And by the way, guys, anyone watching, Laura always has excellent recommendations. So definitely recommend here. All right, Laura, let's see it.
This one, it is a manga. It's called Uzumaki by Junji Ito.
Okay. Is there an anime adaptation for it yet?
There is one now.
But it's not as good.
It's signed by the author.
Oh, that's so cool.
I met him.
That's so cool.
But yeah, so I haven't watched it yet. I've heard the trailers are breathtaking.
Okay.
Of the recent release.
LeMay's like, yes, but it is terrible.
So
so bad feedback from fans.
They got rushed. The animators got rushed. So I hear that the first episode is amazing, and then the rest just
Kinda
falls off so fast in quality.
That is unfortunate. I appreciate manga, but I've always been more of an anime fan. But I think that's more just because I'm more used to like watching things than reading manga.
So,
but
yeah, there's also in manga like having to figure out that's a lot of blood. Anyway, like the order in which to read the panels.
We get stricken down for showing blood on screen.
Yeah, so like trying to figure out what order to read the bubbles because it's right to left. It's right to left for these. So yeah.
Wow.
But it's so hard for me to read Western comics because my brain is so ingrained in manga.
So then you start reading like a Western author and you're like, how come the story doesn't make sense anymore? I'm like, the characters are kind of going out of order.
Yeah, so you flip the pages backwards.
Yeah.
You go through the page backwards and you read it right to left. Yes, Gwenna, this is horror. Horror. All of Junji Ito's work is horror.
Oh man. So I think Laura, obviously your stories that come out, I think you clearly need to write them.
Like, it is horror.
Right to left. That's cool.
Yeah.
That is so cool. I think you should definitely start another trend and then try to keep bringing it to the Western audience. Write stories right to left.
That's the thing. I'm trying to design my own, like an adaptation of my Drabbles into comic form. Like I have the boards and the inks and the pens, like the nib pens and stuff. But I'm like, do I do it right to left or do I do it left to right?
Like, what's the right way to do it? I can't tell.
I don't know anymore.
Oh man. Well, I think I feel pretty good about where we're at. I think Laura, what do you think? We should hop into our first writing sprint.
Yes.
All right. So let me cue everything up. But first, if you're enjoying the stream, follow and subscribe. We're here every day with the Right Now community, 282 consecutive streams and counting. So if you're looking for a daily writing motivation community, this is the place. Tap that follow, tap that subscribe button because we got it all. And we have even more coming on the horizon. We will be launching our book club and we'll be hosting our next Faded Fantasy fiction contest in the spring. So make sure you come join us. And tap those buttons right now. All right. So I'm queuing this up, Laura. Is there anything, while I'm getting this ready, is there anything that you want to send the viewers towards if they want to learn more about you or any books you want to push them towards?
Well, my YouTube channel is Laura Nettles. So if you can subscribe, that would be fan-flippin'-tabulous.
You should absolutely subscribe.
I have 2 videos that I filmed that I still need to edit. I'm late. One of them is going over my 2025 goals that's coming and how I did in 2024. And another one is every unread book on my bookshelf. So,
do you have a lot of those?
It took me an hour to film that.
Oh my goodness. Well, that sounds like it's going to be a great video.
Yeah. So
it sounds like it's going to absolutely be great.
Yeah, it's going to be quite fun. And yeah, if you want book recommendations of writing craft books, the 2 I highly recommend are Writing in the Dark by Tim Wagner, which is geared more towards horror, but it can help so many people. It deconstructs the genres, helps you be able to build your own unique monster, and talks about the different flavors of horror and how to use them like colors on a palette to paint the type of horror feel that you wish. So that one is great. I also recommend The Anatomy of Prose by Sacha Black for more sentence level, paragraph level prose to up your game.
You know what's interesting is whenever I suggest book recommendations to people, the first one I always recommend for writers isn't actually a writing book, because so many writers are never even able to finish their first full-length book out there. So I always suggest Atomic Habits because it's literally a book about forming habits. And if there is anything that we need to be successful as writers, we need to figure out a consistent habit for actually writing, editing, and doing all the stuff. Awesome. So I got 25 minutes. Beautiful. I am all set. Perfect. Okay. All right, my friends. So we got 25 minutes on the clock. Whether you're brainstorming, writing, or editing, that's all part of the process. Come join us because it's time to write now. All right. And that was the timer. Let's see. Let's start a break. I was like, all right, let's start a little break there. Oof, man. Were you able to get some progress words on your end, Laura?
Well, I have paperwork I need to fill out. So I went and gathered my paperwork and I read the pamphlet booklet thing. So some progress, I suppose.
Read the pamphlet booklet thing? Was it?
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like you made some progress, at least with something.
Full pamphlet, so.
Ooh, that's a lot of reading. It's okay. I didn't get too much writing on my storytelling. I was once again catching up on writing for some socials and create administrative, socials, and miscellaneous. But I had my Word document opened, and I know for the next stream I'm ready to get into it. Chat, tell me if you've dealt with this at all. I got to a chapter that I did not intend to have to rewrite, and I realized I have to rewrite the chapter, and I've been putting it off. Has that ever happened to you, Laura? I know you go for shorter stuff. Does that ever happen with shorter sections for you?
Well, I have written some novels.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. 3 novels at this point that I've actually finished a draft of. But yeah, sometimes I will stall and spin my wheels and be like, I just need to get this character through the door. Like, what? Why is this so hard?
I know.
I'm
That's why I know.
Things, or am I not thinking enough? Like, do I need it to
it's
be
not
more
even
twisty?
that. I think I just don't. I just like have been. Lynn's funny. Like, I hate revising bad chapters. The problem is, it's not that the chapter is bad. It's that I'm on the second draft of Scarecrow, my dark fantasy action adventure book, and I hit this chapter. I finally got into Act 2 on the revision, and I went through the chapter, and like there's some good story elements in there, but since I've been reviewing and making changes, there's just not enough story elements that now need to be adjusted. But it's enough where I feel like it would just be more efficient to rewrite the chapter instead of trying to write on top of it. And I was like, I know I need to do it. It's also my one, like, it's like a lot of things just happened and I need to have that like down, like that low beat moment for the characters. As much as I love tormenting my characters, apparently, because let me tell you, the world that these characters are in is not a kind world at all. But I was like, I need to give them a break, need to give them a breather. So
can't be breakneck 24/7.
Awesome. How was the word counts for all of you? Were you in the stream able to hopefully get some words in? I know I saw a couple. Gwenna, you're like 558 words. Excellent. Really, really great work. I know CJ was just like, hi, just finished chapter edits. Now popping in while I'm on a roll to get new words down. Let's go. That's awesome. I also love Baby Yoda, by the way. Oh, so awesome. Let's see. CB, like my current novel is only 29,000 plus words long. I want it to be 50,000 words long, so I am in padding mode. Ooh, that's awesome. All right. Well, it sounds like you're making some good progress on it.
Yeah. My middle grade horror was way too short after the first draft. And so each draft I have added more and more. Like the first time I was like, okay, I'm going to make my finale my midpoint. It just went on and on. So like I have doubled, I believe, my word count for this middle grade horror. So
oof. You know, I'm dealing with the exact opposite problem. I finished my rough draft for this fantasy novel at about 140,000 words. And I know that's a little extra. Readers generally expect, at least for fantasy, 90,000 to 120, depending. So I was like, okay, I feel like I need to get at least to 120 without pushing limits too much. And in the second draft, I've managed to, I'm about a third of the way into it, and it's now at 150,000. I haven't been too successful so far, but I was like, all the elements that I've added at the first part of the story were all things that had to be like fixed and addressed to make the first story feel and resonate with the rest that I had like reworked since. So I'm like, all right, act 2, I got to cut a chapter. Not looking forward to it. But it looks like we're getting some really good editing and work done in the community. I know Jenna was like formatting and editing for a client still. Totally understand that, doing client work. Gwenna's like, ate some spicy food that restarted my nosebleed. Got headbutted in the face, and this is not making for a nice day.
Yeah.
Sorry to hear that, Gwenna.
Little baby Gwenna. She has a kid.
Well, hopefully it gets better. Hopefully it gets better. Or turn it into a story. Or ask yourself, what would my character do? What would my main character do? That's what I would do. And then start talking to your main character, and you know what? Then you'll forget all about the bad day you've had.
So I pulled up my draft 2 of Seasoned Out. It was 21K, and my latest draft is now 38K. So definitely better.
So that sounds like you've definitely been making some awesome progress then in general.
Yeah, like one of the agent notes was, this should be closer to 40K. I'm like, oh, I'm an underwriter. How dare.
Oh, man, that's actually kind of funny. But hey, you know what? Progress step by step. Yeah. Gwenna's like, sounds like you've got a plot line that ran away, Kaufman. You know what's funny actually is the plot for the book's actually really on point. The plot is actually very strong. It's because I wrote Scarecrow over the course of every day last year through these streams. When I hit the end, the first third of the book was too basic. There was like, it just didn't feel like it was a fantasy book. It felt more like a short story. So I then had to rewrite and redo a lot of the elements in the first third to make it match tonally the rest of the book. So, but then to add all the elements and make it feel accurate, now I've just got something that's too long. And for an action adventure, like those are supposed to be long, but I've got to figure out what either obstacles, transitions, or characters need to be cut. Man, Lynn's like, don't cut a chapter, cut a subplot. It's not a bad recommendation. I know something has to be cut from my act 2. I'm just trying to figure out which subplot. Yeah, that's a good call. Rachel's like, I mean, we always overwrite and then we pull it back after beta readers. Then my lovely editor shows me more to clip and cut. So it is much better after all that without losing the magic.
No, mine's always like, not too short.
You're always the exact opposite. All right, Laura. So obviously when we're working on our stories, we just need to switch stories since I'm overwriting and you're underwriting, and then we'll meet in the middle.
There we go.
Yeah. LeMay is like, I'm working on the second draft. It went down from 46 to 43, but I'm going to add in more scenes in the beginning for world building. Very, very cool. Hey, what's up, Mo? So it sounds like we're getting some really, really great work here in the community. I know we're about to hit the end of our break. So in the meantime, I'm going to give you guys something fun to watch, because if you are struggling with your writing, this will definitely help you solve all the problems of the world. I promise. This will help you solve all the problems of your storytelling. Let's see, make sure I have it. I was like, in a perfect world, Jared is prepared for this 100%.
The world is far from perfect. Unfortunately.
All right, let's see if I can get this.
What's wrong? I haven't written anything good in months. I have writer's block. I can't even think of what character to write. I've gotten 33 words for December. I am not a writer. Wait, You don't know the ancient technique that cures writer's block and any writing problems since the dawn of time. Liar, I'm serious. I just wrote a book in 1 week. What is it? Magic. You're the chosen one. Really? No. Do we look like we're in Middle Earth? It's better than magic. It can cure writer's block, it can solve any problem, it can fix any story, it can make you a best-selling novel. You're going to tell me that I need to go get an education, I need to learn by practicing writing every single day, I need to join a writer's group, I need to teach myself new words, and maybe in 20 years, I'll be able to write something halfway decent. Who actually wants to spend time writing as a writer? No. You got a writing problem? Then put a dragon on it. Are you feeling stuck? Put a dragon on it.
All right, Laura, I couldn't help myself because if anybody wants to put a dragon on it, one of our running jokes in the community, because I mean, I've always been a dragon lover, but apparently dragons has been like mainstream for a few years. I'm like, just clearly I'm catching up to the mainstream. But for anybody who wants to put a dragon on it, I got about 20 of these left. So if you want to pick up one of these stickers to support the community, or if you're struggling with your writing problem, these stickers, these dragon stickers will solve all your problems. So regardless of the storytelling, dragons always solve the problem. Don't you think, Laura, do you think dragons could help you solve the problems of your storytelling? Let's say it's horror, right? And let's say so you don't know what direction the character should go in. You're like, all right, well, I'm going to put a metaphorical dragon. What about a ghost dragon, zombie dragon, blood dragon, undead dragon, dragon necromancer?
I think mine would be more like put tentacles in it. So
a tentacle dragon, a dragon cool.
Put a great old one in it somewhere. So
this is the mighty gray dragon cool who's been with many
under
dragons.
The ocean. You've awoken it.
We've awoken the mighty dragon cool. Oh man. Well, I had to do the quick ad. So anybody who wants to pick up some more of these, like I said, I got about 20 left. The link is down below the YouTube description, or I think if you refresh the page, the dragon sticker link pops up on screen. So with that being said, wanted to make sure I could get that out there. I think I'm ready for another writing sprint. Laura, I think this time we're going to get some words. This time we're going to do it. I believe, like, I'm sending you like creative mojo and you can do me. And we'll, if this doesn't work, we'll just have to trade stories for the following sprint.
That sounds good.
All right. So whether you're brainstorming, writing, or editing, that's all part of the process. Come join us as I am almost ready for the second writing sprint because it's time to, because it's almost time to write now. All right. That was our next writing sprint. How'd that treat you, Laura?
Good. I need to delete one more word to make this exactly 100.
Delete that one.
No.
I think it's the right one. Yep. Delete it. Step away. It's always funny. Whenever I do writing sprints, if I'm at a point where I'm near the end of the chapter, it bugs me so much to step away. That's like the one time where like I cannot step away from a chapter if I'm almost at the end of writing it. And those are like the only times where I end up going over on writing sprints. Man, I got a little bit, made a little bit of progress on Scarecrow. How'd that go for all of you here in the chat? Were you able to make any writing progress that time?
Did it.
Woo!
I deleted 2 and wrote 1.
Nice. -2 + 1. That is the way to do it. Man, I was like, hopefully getting in some more good writing vibes. I'm like, with this chapter rewrite, whenever I get stuck in a chapter, I pull myself back and then I list. I'm like, okay, well, what do I need to accomplish in this chapter? And then I pull back. I do like a pseudo outline in a way if I ever get stuck. And that generally seems to help. That generally seems to guide me if I'm like, well, what do I write next if I ever get stuck?
Do you want to see what I wrote?
Yeah.
Okay. Window, this one. So the theme for this anthology is evil editors.
Ooh.
And you have to have 100 words exactly in the story itself. So I went for
100 words. Oh, that's what a short thing for an anthology. Only 100 words?
For every entry.
Okay.
Every story. So I went for a book that somebody was writing and the editor was editing it, and it's supposed to be horror. So the title is The Ancient Book, Strikeout, Mediocre, Reword. That's the title. There once was an ancient book, strikeout, cliche, not scary, discovered on the seashore, its pages running with brine, ink spilled off soggy paper, running in rivulets over barnacles. An old man picked it up, not knowing what he held. Describe it! The binding cracked as he opened it, the words spilling into his mind. They ran up his fingers along weathered skin and entered through tear ducts. Did I spill my damn ink? Concesse cononetto. What does that mean? Cliche. Concesse cononetto. Annoying. Repetition. Concesse cononetto. I mean, concesse cononetto. Concesse cononetto. Brilliant. Concesse cononetto. Concesse cononetto. Concesse cononetto forevermore.
That's pretty clever. You're using that's a really clever use of parentheses to emulate a dialogue between the author and the editor. Yeah. That's really clever. I absolutely love that. Is when you get feedback from your editor, will you usually get like editor's notes in parentheses?
No, usually
I'm an editor, so I'm always curious to learn others' styles and what like standards people see.
Usually it's like the Word doc comments or Google Doc comment things. So on the side of the page. Yeah, I'm used to that. I feel like Microsoft Word and Google Docs are probably generally the most frequently used ones. Yeah, I was like, I don't know if there's other like editing ones, but even when I looked at like other editors on sites like a Fiverr or the other ones, if my mind wasn't blinking right now, it's almost always, Reedsy? Yeah, Reedsy, and there's a third one. But generally, it's like they almost always say track changes and track changes and comments in Microsoft Word. I think it's because most people it feels like a majority of writers use Microsoft Word because it's ease of access. The cheaper option, I mean, it's the other option is really Google Docs, which really it's the same company, right? Google Docs and Microsoft Word. Yeah. I do get like inline track changes for my romance shorts that I wrote. And I did as well for my horror collection. So sometimes they'll send you 2 versions, one with track changes and one that's a clean version. So the is all applied. And so you can just blind faith accept it or actually go through one by one.
That's interesting. Do you like that? So like as an author, do you like the clean version? Because I mean, even as an author, like let's say you don't like the changes, I'm pretty sure you can just hit a button that says approve all.
Yeah. I like the clean version just to see like what the word count would end up as.
That totally makes sense. So you can kind of okay. That makes sense.
But,
I mean, I feel like as an editor, I almost hit that point once I'd been working with some of writers for a little while because they come to trust. So I'm like, okay, right, they can trust, right? I'm not going to screw up their story. So I feel like that becomes something to work towards.
My dog is doing something. Roy.
Your dog wants to be involved in writing the story.
Apparently.
I'd love to hear though, and this is what I'm always curious. How do you guys go about finding an editor? I feel like there's so many editors out there, and I always try to put myself out there, but I try to not do it in a way that's overbearing or annoying. But I'm really curious, like how other people generally find editors. How'd you come across your editor, Laura?
So I've used 4, and I found them all through the community. So for developmental edits, I use Jace Maxwell, who's been kind of MIA for a while now, but he does great developmental edits. And then I did line edits for my collection through Enchanted Ink, which is Natalia Lee's company. And then for my romance shorts, I use Morgan Lee to do all my line edits. And then the other editor, shoot, who was it? Was that it? I don't remember now.
Like somebody, the fourth one. But they were generally all word of mouth for you.
Yeah, I trusted Natalia Lee because she was actually doing the editing coursework, so she was qualified, like certified, and then
wait, certified through what exactly?
I don't remember. It was years ago. Okay. Yeah, so that was nice, and then Jace Maxwell is pretty well versed in horror, and so knew what he was doing, and had a different perspective than me, so could see things that might be problematic, and so that was helpful.
That's interesting. Do you feel more confident in an editor when they specialize in your genre?
Yeah. Yeah. So Morgan Lee, who did my romance shorts, has edited a bajillion romance shorts. So like she did all of Des LeRay's and a bunch. So she has a lot of practice, and I know her personally, so we can just chat as well if needed.
That's really cool. That's really interesting. I'm always really intrigued. I can tell a number of writers here in the chat. Inca's like, I thought I was almost done with this book, but I need to write a new bridging scene. Oof, that's always a challenge, my friend. But hey, at least you're near the end. That's a huge plus. Aphrodite is saying, my editor tends to bleed all over my drafts and tells me to You're like, yeah, the book's almost done. It's like there's like 5% left. It's like it's ready for a proofread, and then you get it back and it's only red. You just like you pull out in Microsoft Word and it's just a sea of red. Oh, it's funny. Cheryl's like, I'm my own editor, self-editing at this stage. My college professor is my editor. That's actually always that's a nice plus when you have a college professor. Like they have the academic background under their belt.
I remember my other editors now. So I had hired an editor through Reedsy to go over my submission package for querying. So like the first 10 pages and the query letter and like the synopsis kind of thing. So I did that through Reedsy because they have a ton of experience and they're professionals supposed to be. So like
Which
I
is kind
trusted
of
it.
interesting. Yeah, because I looked into Readsy to be qualified as an editor.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a little bit of a different process where Fiverr, you just like upload, and Fiverr is more generalized and cheaper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did get an editor through Fiverr for one of my romance shorts. They did not know what they were doing. Like their
really?
edits were breaking the grammar. I'm like,
oh no,
you do not do period, end of quotation marks, capitalized, she said, period. Like that is not.
Wait, what did they do?
So they would do like, hello, she said. They would do it like that.
Let's see. Hello, she.
I'm like, that is not correct. What? So I wasted over $50 on that one. But
well, I guess that was yeah, I mean, that sucks. But I mean, live and learn, right? Live and learn. Because I've heard people have had good experience from freelancers on Fiverr, and then I've heard people have had bad experiences. I set up a Fiverr profile a while back, and I think like sometimes I get people through it. But it's kind of interesting what you see, what actually pops up there in the Fiverr algorithm.
Like I have found amazing illustrators through Fiverr that I've continually gone back to.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'd almost trust hiring visual based freelancers on Fiverr over writing based freelancers, just from the experience that I've seen from people. It's actually really interesting.
I commissioned someone to do this digital painting for my cover, and then I did the text myself. I hired someone to do.
I think the reason that is because a visual designer. Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah.
That is really cool. But a visual designer it's easier to showcase and portfolio their work, right? So you can see the quality of their work on the front end. Whereas an editor, you're like, okay, well, how am I going to see the quality of their work? You could see samples, or if they've edited for people or notable authors, or if they do samples. Do editors in your experience usually do like sample edits for you before you pay?
A lot of them offer it, yes.
But I mean, if it's like a well-known editor, like obviously they probably don't.
That's the thing, though. This person has so many reviews on Fiverr that I just trust them, and I shouldn't have.
Dang! Like, so they had a lot of reviews, and they
did, and they were good. I'm like, did you just outsource this to someone, or I don't know.
Oh god, that hurts. Sounds like no.
Yeah.
Oh man, I mean, I think that's always not the challenge, but I mean, I think that's the thing with writers, right? I mean, we can write and publish a book for free, sure, but I mean, writing a book also takes money, and I think that's always the challenge. If we don't have money invested, or we're not at a stage, like, I mean, at least if we're trying to build a readership and do it that way, then I mean, the two things that I say people generally should invest money in is cover design, because if no one likes your cover, nobody buys the book, or they don't even check out the blurb inside. Cover design and editor, because if the book has spelling mistakes or errors or things don't make sense, you lose them as a potential long-term reader. So I was like, I feel like those are like the two bare minimum, but I also get it. I mean, like industry standards for like editing services is pricey.
Yeah. Like I was working full time in an industry job. And so I had the money that I could use and not, like it was expenses that I could afford to do.
Exactly. Right.
I knew I didn't have to get back. So I was able to do these little, like, commission these, little illustrations. Come on.
I like kind of see it there. Oh yeah.
They're candles for this one.
That's cool.
But like every subchapter has a different illustration, and then I have full page illustrations that are watercolors that somebody did.
That is so cool.
So like I knew this wasn't gonna break even, but this was my baby, and I was okay with that.
You really, but I think like you were aware of that, and you recognize that as an investment into yourself. That's so cool.
Yeah. So like
that is so cool. I feel like that's something to be proud of. But like it would have been different if you invested the money and you're like, hey, I need to see a return on this.
Yeah.
Right. And I think it's once again it's expectations. Right.
So I had
yeah,
the privilege of having a full-time job. So.
Exactly right. And that not every writer has that same privilege, or they don't always have the extra income to be able to do that. They're like, hey, they got family, they got responsibilities, college, school loan, all the things.
Like all those expenses were spread out over 2 years because I would just commission like 1 or 2 illustrations at a time.
That's smart.
Every few months. Like,
no, but I mean, I think it sounds like then the smart thing was you plan many years ahead before the book even launched to get the work done instead of like, oh, okay, the book's done, ready to publish. Now let me get the cover design.
Oh,
exactly. Right. And I think maybe that's a missed opportunity. Maybe too many writers wait until too late in the process to then start thinking about any of the artwork.
The problem with the cover though is you need to know how many pages it is, so you know your spine width if you're getting like a wraparound cover instead of just a front ebook cover.
That's interesting.
So you need to be in like final edits to get the cover for the spine width, unless your spine is just going to be black and you have like an illustration on the front and the back.
Yeah, you know what I'm doing. Because I have a cover artist working on my book right now for the cover design. I decided because I'm going to launch the ebook, the paperback, and the ebook, paperback, hardcover, audiobook. I don't know, all the versions. So I figured I would do the first initial cover, which I know will be the launch, and then I will extend that and then have that be the wraparound. So I could still have the initial one for the cover reveal, and then do the extended one for the hard and the paperback at a later point.
Yeah. So I just had this painting done, and then I cropped part of the painting for my spine, and then I flopped the painting and made it transparent over black for the back. So
that works.
I just had them paint one side.
That definitely works. So yeah, I mean, I think that that's always a great conversation. I know I'm super excited about it. By the way, I totally forgot earlier to end the poll. Can you guess how many what percentage of people were into flash fiction, short story, novella, novel? Can you guess what percentages we had?
I'm guessing one person voted for each of the shorter ones.
So we got about 40 votes.
Oh.
We got about 40 votes. Which one do you think was the winner?
Novel.
Novel? Wrong. No, I'm
really?
kidding. No, I'm kidding. You're absolutely right. I knew it was going to be novel as well. I had a feeling. So on the poll now, so everyone can see it. Like maybe. So we got novel. So 74% of the community here in the chat aims for novels, which I just put novel as anything that's 40,000 or more words. Let's see. Second place was short stories. I put 1.5K to 10,000 words, and then novellas was third from 10 to 40,000, and then flash fiction is the smallest. It's actually kind of interesting that people went from novels to short stories over the novella category. It's kind of interesting. People are like, either if I'm going to write a book, I'm going to write a book. If I'm going to write a short story, I'm going to write a short story. But the novella is kind of like that in-between category. I thought that was interesting. Well, looks like you were right, Laura. You know this our Authortube community well. And on that note, I think we're about at time.
Yeah.
So we got into awesome writing sprints today. We had a number of good conversations. I now want to go work on some horror stuff and want to figure out how to channel your energy so I can write a little less and get to that word count. Oh man. Laura, it's been absolutely awesome. I always love having you on the stream. Yeah, I feel like every single time I have you on, I always want to ask more questions about your background. But I was like, I know we've done. I'll have to have you on the podcast sometime. We can chat
Sounds
more
good.
writing stuff. You're awesome. Are you doing any more streaming today?
I'm on Dolores's right after this.
Oh, so you're going straight over to Dolores's. All right. Well,
Yep.
everyone here, if you want to continue to hop along, continue on the playlist. The next one is over on Dolores's channel, linked down below to go over to Dolores's channel. Sounds like Dolores and Laura are going to be continuing on the vibe. Are you guys doing a break next?
Yeah.
Or break. All right. So if you guys want to take a break, maybe play some writing games. It won't be any type of author Jeopardy, but you know what? We're
we'll see what goes down.
We'll see. I'll join you guys in the chat. But thanks again, Laura, and thank you everyone for joining us today. It's been wonderful. We'll be back tomorrow. Right now, we'll be back tomorrow for another stream. I think I'm earlier in the day, so another productivity sprint. Laura, you're of course more than welcome to come back if you want to hop on stream.
Yeah, looks like yours is at 2 to 4 p.m. Eastern tomorrow.
2 to 4. All right, so I'm at 12 my time. Yeah, so I'm definitely a little earlier for a Friday. That's all good. We'll have fun. I'm used to streaming every day, so I'm like every day is a different adventure for me. Where's the link? Let me pull up the. I gotta go find it. Let me go pull up that so I can drop it in the chat for everyone. Aw, your dog is looking forward to the next stream.
Oh, he's looking forward to, I don't know, having attention.
He's looking forward to something. All right, there we go, guys. I just dropped that link if you want to go hop over to Dolores's channel. I appreciate you, and we'll catch you on the morrow.